right, we are going to do a really chill Yin Flow tonight. So make sure that you have your pillows, your blankets, anything else that will be supportive and will make you feel comfortable. I have a fan going because it's starting to get pretty hot here. So again, just like make sure that you got the room set up the way you want it. A drink nearby if you need it. And we're gonna start today in a reclined, supported butterfly. So you'll come into your butterfly legs, and then you're always welcome to make it a little bit more yin without using support. Otherwise you can slide some props right underneath your knees. And then I'm gonna slide a long pillow just straight down behind me so I can lay right back onto that. So your sit bones are still on the mat, and it shouldn't be too much of a lift, so something pretty soft. And then just notice here if it feels good to let your arms fall open, or hands might want to stay on your belly. If your pillow is a little bit shorter, you might add a second pillow up top here so your head is still supported. And it might even feel nice to you to kind of roll that pillow up at the very end, giving the head just a little extra boost. And let the eyes close once you get settled in. Just let your body start to soften down. Noticing here where your mind goes. Noticing the energy inside your body. Slowly letting all of the muscles release. Surrendering your weight down. A few more breaths here. Start to reach your hands towards your thighs and use your hands to press your knees all the way together, and then right away just grabbing onto your thighs, we'll start to pull ourselves all the way up into a seated position. And here you can slip that pillow out from behind you. And you can slide these little guys just off to the side. We're gonna flip over into our tabletop. Always just moving really slowly as we transition between our poses. We're gonna take a moment here. You can find a little bit of free movement. So that might look like a slow cat and cow. And that might be a little wiggle around, moving the hips side to side, rolling out through the neck. Making our way back into a tabletop position. We're going to step the right foot just outside the right hand. So we're going to be landing on that left knee. You might want to slide a blanket underneath it. And if you need to, kind of wiggle that left knee a little bit further back so you're in a deeper lunge position. We're coming into our lizard pose here. We'll ground the palms just underneath the shoulders. And if this feels a little too intense, you can slide some props if you have blocks, or you can always use pillows or books right underneath the hands to give yourself a little bit of a lift. Take a moment to really stretch out the jaw, shake it out a little bit, loosen the tongue. Try to relax the shoulders as much as you can. I know that can be difficult here because we're using the arms, but see if you can let the shoulders kind of slide down the back instead of scrunching up into your ears. Noticing your breath here, trying to keep it as even and full and smooth as you possibly can. And again, just noticing where the mind goes. Giving yourself this space to just be right where you are as best as you can. Any muscles that really want to clamp up here, and use your exhales to try to release them once again. Take a few more deep breaths. Big inhale through the nose. Big open mouth exhale. And really gently finding a little bit of a lift in your chest. We're going to press into the fingertips and really slowly start to straighten the right leg. So your hips stack over your left knee. You can walk your hands back. And if this feels a little awkward too, you can slide that right hand to the outside of the right leg. Otherwise, keeping the hands inside the right leg and flexing the right foot. It's a little counter stretch here. Take a couple deep breaths. One more full breath in, full breath out. And just really taking your time to shift yourself back into a tabletop. We'll slide that right knee back next to the left knee. You can slip your blanket out for right now if you're using it. And just take another little shimmy around. You can stay in your tabletop if it feels natural to you. You might pop up into a down dog and take a little pedal through the feet. Just notice the two sides of your body. We're going to meet back in our tabletop position when you're ready. And we'll just move right over to the other side. Let's step that left foot outside the left hand. We're going to shimmy the right knee a little bit further back, and then if you need to, go ahead and slip that blanket underneath the knee. Now noticing right away the size difference, so it might feel different. You might want to set yourself up with some different proppage underneath the hands. You might just want to climb up onto your fingertips. Take a moment here to find a little length in the spine and a little softness around the neck and the shoulders. Release the jaw, and then start to let yourself sink into it. Getting really into the front of that right hip here. Let that be heavy. This is especially good stretch for when you're sitting a lot, which we all are these days. See if you can find that breath here. You might notice a little heat building up in the body. That's okay. Just letting out big exhales whenever you feel like you need to. Your wrists start to get a little bit tired here, you can always come onto your fists, or if you have props and you feel like you have the space to come onto your elbows, you might also land yourself down there. If you're like me, you might want to build up a couple of things here. Finding the place that you can relax the most into the stretch. Few more full breaths here. Really big inhale, big audible exhale, let it go. Again, moving really slowly, we'll start to press up onto fingertips and gently shift the hips back, flexing the left foot as you stack the hips over the right knee. And of course, if you need to adjust the distance between your heel and your knee, go ahead. A couple of deep breaths here, finding that counter stretch, staying long in the spine. Soft in the jaw, soft in the shoulders. One more full breath. And then we'll just gently shift your way back into a tabletop position, planting the palms, your left knee back, and again, if you would rather pop it up into a down dog, you can go ahead and just pedal it out there. And once again, we'll meet back in our tabletop position. From here, I want you to step both of your feet up in between your hands. So we're coming into our forward fold. Let your feet be at least hips distance in width, maybe even a little bit wider than that. We'll soften the knees. Let's take a moment to lengthen through the spine. And if you have any low back stuff going on, you might keep a little bit of that length here, so you can stay up on your fingertips or climb your hands up onto some props that you have. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can let your head start to get heavy, shaking it out a little bit. Maybe take a little sway. Keep that little bend of the knees so nothing is locking out. Feel the feet really grounding down. Letting the head get a little bit heavier with every exhale. Just a couple more breaths here. One more big breath in, big breath out. Come back into your halfway lift. If you were folded all the way down, find a little bit of length there. And then again, we'll just step the feet back, landing the knees into a tabletop. You can plant the hands under the shoulders and take a little wiggle out again. All right, let's go ahead and slip any props out of the way in front of you if you've got them there. We're gonna pop up into our downward facing dog, and again, you can find a little movement. And then we're just gonna slip the right knee forwards, coming into our pigeon pose. And so here you might use your blanket or a prop like a pillow underneath the right hip. Take a moment to level the hips out so you're not leaning all the way over to the right. Make sure the front of your left thigh is still facing the mat. And then any amount of props that might be handy down in front. Maybe just one big guy to land your chest and your head on. Remembering that you don't need to land in like your deepest possible place. Find a place that you can easily stay and breathe and rest in, knowing that the body will open up over time. Don't need to force anything here. Just breathe. few more big full breaths here. Before we shift, I just want you to make a mental note of which ear you've had down on your props this whole time. If you had your head turned to one direction, we're just going to flip it when we come to the other side. When you're ready, you can start to gently press yourself back up. You can remove the props or just slide them out a little bit further in front of you. We're going to plant the hands, tuck the back toes, and kick that right leg straight up and back, finding a three-legged dog. And you can bend the knee and open the hip and maybe kick the leg around really slowly. We'll come back into our downward facing dog. Take a moment to just pedal the feet, notice the two sides, and then if you'd like to move your way through a flow here, this would be a good chance to just kind of rinse all of that out. And then we'll slide the left knee forwards, coming into our pigeon on the other side. Take your time to set it up. You're in no rush. Using any props underneath that left hip. And then setting up your props out in front, however you had them, or maybe a little bit different than how you had them on the other side. So just notice what feels right, and we'll bring the opposite ear down to the props. And notice here, you might even notice that your right hip is falling to the right. So if that's the case, you might want to slide something underneath that side as well, so you don't have to put too much effort into staying level. Notice if there's anything that's been kind of subtly clenched up this whole time that you can let go of, that maybe you just didn't really notice. Take an exhale and you can find a little bit more softness. A few more breaths here. Once you feel ready, you can start to press your hands down, picking yourself up. Again, remove those props out in front of you. Just give yourself a little bit of space, and I'll Press back up into a three-legged dog. Kick your left leg all the way up and open it, move it around however you like. Welcome back into a down dog. Again, option to take yourself through a flow here if you like. Coming back to down dog, take another little pedal, and then we'll just drop the knees to the center of the mat, coming to sit on your heels, coming to just sit right up. All right, we're gonna make our way into a thunderbolt pose here. So we're gonna keep the feet together, keep the knees together, keep the knees grounded, and find a little tuck of the tailbone as you start to lean yourself back. And you might notice that you just want to stay on your hands with a little bend in your elbows. You might want to use this kind of stack of props, or if you have blocks handy, you can land your hands on that, or you might be able to lean your elbows on that. And then depending on how far back you come, it might feel nice to let your head drop, and it might not. So just assess what feels right for you. Oof, and we're gonna not push it. Keep breathing. One more. Really gently start to press yourself up. Use your hands to lift yourself back into a seat and take a moment to just land back in that tall seat, letting the spine stack again. A little roll out through the neck here, shoulders. All right, you can remove those props if you had something right behind you. And we're just gonna slip the legs straight out in front. And we're gonna come into a butterfly again. This time we'll stay in our seat. So you might wanna come up onto a blanket to give your spine a little extra lift. You might wanna use your props underneath your knees like we did at the very beginning, or you can forego all the props and go a little bit deeper. We'll take the inhale to lift up tall, and then exhale to pour your heart forwards over your toes. And you're welcome to slide some props right on top of your feet here. Maybe your head wants to come down, or sometimes it feels nice to land your hands or your elbows on props if the floor just feels a little bit far away. Take a few more full breaths. And just really gently starting to press yourself up when you feel ready. Again, using your hands to close your knees like you're closing a book. And you can just give your knees a little squeeze and maybe take a little shimmy side to side. We're going to slowly make our way onto our backs. So you most likely won't need too much props once we get down there, but it might be nice to have one pillow, one little guy, or your blanket. So you can just gently come down whenever you're ready. You can let your knees come right into your chest and just find a little bit of movement, maybe circle the knees around. Land the feet flat to the mat. From here, let's shimmy the hips to the right and let the knees drop over to the left. We're coming into our twist. So here's where you might want to land your knees on a pillow, or you might want to slide that pillow or blanket right in between your knees. Whatever feels more supportive. We're going to let that right shoulder stay anchored down to the mat. Letting the right arm fall open. Now, option here to go a little bit deeper into the twist is wrap that top leg up and over the bottom leg to kind of help pin it down. That'll give you a little extra stretch in the outer hip and thigh area as well, but certainly deeper for the twist. So you choose your level of intensity here. A few more full breaths. Moving really slowly and at your own pace, you can start to peel yourself back up to center. Let's just land the hips back to neutral for a moment. We can let the knees fall into touch. Just feel the body come back. Shimmy the hips over to the left. Let your knees fall down to the right, and again, using your prop here if you'd like to on this side. It doesn't need to be exactly the same. Trying to find a little bit of extra length through the top of the head, and we'll let that left arm fall open. Just easy breath, softening down. deeper here. Slowly start to make your way back up to center. Once again, we'll just take a moment at neutral. Maybe the knees want to knock into each other. And you can give your knees a little squeeze into the chest, or if you want to take another little circle around, rock side to side, or maybe a moment or two in a happy baby, whatever feels natural for you here. And when you feel ready, you can start to lengthen yourself out into Shavasana. If it feels good, you might slip one of your pillows or even just a blanket right underneath your knees. You're always welcome to, of course, slide a little support underneath the head as well, but just nothing too thick underneath the head. I don't want your neck to be like cranked up. Keeping that length from tailbone all the way up to the top of your head. We'll let the hands fall open, let the eyes slip shut. Notice any muscles that want to still hang on, or any resistance you feel to being still, letting the mind rest, letting the body rest. And knowing, of course, you're welcome to stay here however long feels best for you. Take your time. When you feel ready to make your way out, you can let the breath get a little bit deeper and start to find a little movement in your fingers and your toes. You can rock the head, stretch the arms, and really slowly and gently rolling off to your left side. We'll come into a fetal position and take a moment there. Really slowly pressing your way up, coming into a seat, keeping the eyes closed if you can. Just taking a quick moment here to check in with the body, noticing how you feel. Bring hands together in front of the heart. Take a full breath in through the nose. Open the mouth, letting it go. Namaste. All right. Thank you so much.